When you're snowed in, I can't really think of anything better I'd rather be doing than watching Thousand Autumns. Hey, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 13. Oh, good old lucky number 13 of Thousand Autumns. And yes, it's been snowing outside. I'm practically snowed in. So what else can I do but watch an episode of Thousand Autumns? And last week was a lot, as we had Shen Qiao being drugged to San Jijing's lair and fighting him. He might be dead. Him and Yan Wuxi have had their little tussle, and Yan Wuxi's just like, like just leaving everything to Shen Qiao. I'm like, I need these two boys to talk. At the very end, Yan Wuxi did save Shen Qiao from drowning. I just need them to talk. I just need them to communicate. But I feel like we're at that point of the Don Mai where they're having a little tussle. It's giving me very Word of Honor vibes, where they're having a little tussle. They need to kind of like have their little moment apart. But if it's a Don Mai, they're not going to be apart for very long, right? Right. The only comment I have is from Breezy3392 that says, if you want someone to love, you can love me. Yan Wuxi actually said it. Are you worthy of that? Shen Qiao with the comeback. He's got sass in him, and I love it. Here's the thing. Shen Qiao was like, okay, you love me. All right. Shen Qiao was not being grossed out by it, so he's clearly all about it. But he's like, are you worthy of that? Can you say that to me? And I think Yan Wuxi took that a little too personally. I think Yan Wuxi doesn't know if he is worthy of Shen Qiao's love. And there's a bit of tsundere-ness with him, which I was talking to people in the comments. Both Yan Wuxi and Shen Qiao are kind of both tsunderes, just in different ways. So it's interesting, because usually you don't see two tsundere characters like paired up with each other. So, but yeah, I just, Yan Wuxi, your love is so transparent. But Shen Qiao, and I think Shen Qiao knows it, but it's like, I think Shen Qiao is waiting for you to be comfortable talking about it, and Yan Wuxi is in just having a moment where he's doubting himself. So what can we do? Other than that, I did go ahead and download episode 8 because we can watch the whole episode now. It's 28 minutes, by the way. It's a 28-minute episode. I'm like, the longest one yet. So we can actually watch episode 13 in its entirety. I can watch the OP now. I'm so excited. But I know that the OP changes after episode 9, and there are 2 different songs. So I did download episode 8 so that I could go back and look at it after this episode. So I'll probably record a reaction to that. I swear my dog sleeps, and then when I start talking for a reaction, they wake up wanting me to throw the stupid ball. It's Pavlovian at this point. I've done this to myself. This is my own making. But also, before we start, thank you all so much for the comments. I really appreciate them. I do want to give a shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all so much for your support. If you are watching my channel on YouTube, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That helps me out so much. If you want to support me in any other way, I do have a Patreon. There is a tier on that Patreon channel that people who donate a little extra each month, they get a shout out in my videos, and that's mainly what this is. So, to Destiny Marie, to Faisha, to Lyndon, to Zero Anti-Zero, to Translucent Men, to Eric to Eat You, to Be Happy, our moderator, by the way, to Ghostly Turnip, as well as Dana, Alex Cornejo, Diana Williams, Murphew, Daniel Devorin, Rose Jennison, as well as Damage3245, James, Rast, CATA, Alexandra Q, Shimoyama, Sunspots, Nicholas, Sean, and Jason N. Thank you all so much, and to everybody who supports me over on Patreon, you all are amazing and so kind and awesome, and I really appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, that's what I got. I'm really excited that we get a full episode. I'm a little bit nervous because last episode I thought was going to be like the breakup, like, oh, we're going to be apart, and then immediately they were back together, and I was like, okay. But now I feel like after last episode with Shen Qiao falling into the water and Yan Wuxi leaving, I do feel like we're going to have a little time apart, and I don't like that because I like seeing Yan Wuxi and Shen Qiao together. So, but what can we do? So anyway, I'm going to throw this one more time. You go lay down, buddy. He's not going to listen. But we are going to get started and check out episode 14 of Thousand Autumns, and we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. This episode was heartbreaking. This episode was so sad. Oh my God. gosh. I was really feeling for old Zhu in this. I was like, dang, that was, And poor Shen Qiao, like, whenever Shen Qiao has cried before, like, with the girl dying and stuff, it's been like, oh, he's really sad, and it's a sad moment. But this was, like, the tears were warranted, because he really got close to this old man and his love for Shiwu and Chuyi, and then just setting up our bad guys as being worthy of the antagonist title, with the exception of Bairong. Bairong, she's trying to skirt the edge. I'm a little worried for Bairong, because I feel like she's either going to end up in this series getting off scot-free, and it's all going to work out, and she can be the beard to Shen Qiao and Yan Wuxi, or she's going to suffer. And I'm like, I don't like where this is headed, because Song Jijing did not die. So that answered that question. There were a lot of questions that I had posed last week that I'm recording this before episode 12 is out on Patreon and YouTube. So I'm hoping that people are patient, because I feel like a lot of questions I had asked are like being solved or answered in this episode specifically. So I want to, before we even get started anymore, I'm going to watch and listen to the song, the first OP that's from episode 8, that you all have requested that I see, since the lyrics are different than the one for episode 12. So we're gonna go through that here, and then we'll talk about episode 13 proper. So we are going to look at the OP for episodes 1 through 8, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's check it out. Now, this is, okay, of course, the yin and yang. The yin and yang, of course. Yeah. This song already feels different. I might like the beat of the first song a little bit more than the second one. Maybe. Perhaps. Uh-huh. Ooh. Uh-huh. Ooh, sword in the case and liquor in the cup. Oh, nice. I like this a little bit more somber. Wow, the lyrics definitely... Ooh. The lyrics definitely feel more like Shen Qiao at the beginning of the series. Then the second pair of lyrics that feel more like him, modern, like now. I might like this song more. Uh-huh. I think it might fit the imagery better. They're both good, don't get me wrong. This song feels more like Shen Qiao making the most of his circumstance, whereas the other song feels like Shen Qiao like rising above the circumstance. Uh-huh. Especially with the idea of like the unknown. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll make a comeback. Well, sure you will. Put the past behind and grow old with me. That feels like it's directly catering to Shen Qiao and Yan Wuxi. Uh-huh. Okay, I will say, yep. In terms of the song overall, I do think I prefer the first OP song versus the second. However, the chorus about the sword for justice, that whole ending chorus, I think works better for the overall theme of the show. So it's like apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. I'm glad that at least now I get to legit listen to both. I'm glad I legit get to see the OP and go from there. That makes me happy. Yay. So we're going to skip this OP and get right to it. Yeah, bringing back peace to the world. I think the ending lines there fit better, but surviving the desperate, man, okay. It was sad not seeing Yang Wuxi, but for about 10 seconds in this episode, his presence is missed. He's such a big enigmatic figure that when he's not there, you're like, ah, damn, where is he at? So I miss Yang Wuxi in this, but I do feel like we needed to have Shen Qiao come to some realizations by himself. I'm hoping that he's come to some other realizations, which we're going to talk about here in a hot second. So when we saw this beginning with the magistrate and Shin Gong, I really thought we were going to see Qin Gong in this episode, and we did not. We just got a preview. Now, whether or not Shen Qiao sees him, we have 3 episodes left before we start the novel. We're obviously not going to get the entire story told in those 3 episodes, but I'm very curious to see what we're going to do. But we had to go back and bring up Chuyi and Shiwu and Zhu here. And then this part here about the evil spirit inside of him. Oh, it was done intentionally. We have figured out why Yang Wuxi did that. Sir, you're not subtle. Sir! So let's get into that, shall we? So Bailong Temple. We're going to put Bailong up here. Bailong Temple. This temple actually looks... It looks like if they just cleaned it up, it would be really nice. And of course, I feel like the yin and yang symbol is very appropriate when we're talking about Shen Qiao and him activating like the inner chi from the celerity here. But yeah, I feel like he just came to this old temple and made it his orphanage to train young disciples and then send them to Bisha. So we get Chuyi, and then the master telling him that she was not familiar with this place, and that's when they find poor Shen Qiao. So I do want to make known that even though Shen Qiao, he was left at the doorstep of the temple, it is very obvious that Yang Wuxi is looking out for him. He left him with his sword. Yet again, he has faith in Shen Qiao, and that much is true. There's probably a squirrel or something outside. So yeah, and so then I'm going to turn my sound off just in case. This bitch is not dead. I cannot believe he's not dead. I cannot believe that Song Jingji is not dead. How dare he? Like, what the fudge? So meanwhile, back at Hehuan is old Song Jijing is still alive. Surprising no one, but I really wondered if Shen Qiao killed him, but we can't have nice things at this point in the story. And he's a major antagonist, so he's just now pissed. His meridians have been disrupted, he's weakened, whatever. So he sends Bai Rong, who we all know Bai Rong is not going to hurt Shen Qiao. She likes Shen Qiao. I don't romantically ship them. If Yan Wuxi didn't exist in this story, would I kind of ship her and Shen Qiao? Maybe. But I'm so heavy into the Shen Qiao Yan Wuxi ship that I'm just like, she just has to be a platonic bestie, which is fine. Now, Zhao Se actually works for Juju. So it's interesting that the old Song got him to come over to this side to work for him. So that's interesting. And then we have this new guy, Yan Shao, who he looks frightful. His CGI looks like something out of that like 2000s movie Food Fight. It's kind of creepy. I'm not going to lie. But he's like, I want you to capture Shen Qiao, bring him back to me dead or alive. And you can tell Bai Rong is like, I don't want to do any of this. I feel like if she had the opportunity, and if Zhao Se and Yan Shou were not in the picture, I think she would stab Song in the back while he's weak and then have it all said and done. But she very much is giving me, there's in the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book, which is so unrelated. But there's a character in the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books that she ends up being the romantic interest of the protagonist. And she is involved with this nefarious organization. She's grown up in it, but our protagonist kind of shows her the light, shows her that there's a way out, shows her that there's more to her life than just following this group, and she falls in love with them because of that. And so she, at every twist and turn, is still working for the organization, but trying to find ways to get out of it. And it's really well written. I loved it growing up. I loved it in that comic series. Of course, the author that created that ended up like trying to take all that intellectual property with him, and it retconned everything, and I hate it now, but at the time it was great. But yeah, this guy just looks like a freaking orc. And there's no other way to say that's nicely. His face is just, they did not, and then he just got a bunch of anal beads around his neck. They just did not see fit to animate him well. Nope, maybe that was the point. So inside, we have this little underground basement where they've given us a little bit of hole to see the light. And Shiwu is trying to, like, make sure that Shen Qiao is okay. And then he wakes up and he's like, where am I? And they're like, we found you lying at the temple 2 days ago. So it's been a couple days. He's like, are you okay? And he's like, what makes you cough so violently? He's like, I asked my master to give you medicine, but it's not working. So I love the twist that this man was, like, clearly a martial artist for Bixia and was really good, and for whatever reason has exited and exiled himself here, but that he actually had, like, a lot of amazing, because, you know, sometimes in Danmai you don't know, when you have older characters, they're either going to be OP badasses, or they're going to be, like, fodder and red shirts that die at the drop of a hat. And I'm like, I didn't know what to label this man as. Is this old man going to die as soon as the others show up, or is he going to be able to defend himself? And it's the latter, and it was crazy. I loved it, and he's also kind of a realist. He tells Shiwu, he's like, look, we don't have medicine to just give around for nothing. And he's like, I can't promise this guy is going to be okay. And he said the county magistrate sent his men here. So that means that Qin Gong sent his men to Bailong Temple, and they hid in the basement to not be seen by them. The fact that they have to go to Bixia, let's point out here as well that Bixia is also the last place that Kunye is trying to persuade. They are, like, the last group he's trying to get to join his cause. So the fact that Shen Qiao and Shiwu are possibly going there to see who Shiwu is going to be a disciple for feels like the stories are all going to converge. Feels like the storylines are all going to converge at Bixia. And that's where we're probably going to end up. That's probably where we're going to end the Donghua, is everybody going to Bixia and then seeing what happens, right? He's like, Chuyi and Shiwu are in the basement with us. They couldn't find what they were looking for. And he's like, your meridians are broken. What have you been doing? You can't practice martial arts anymore. So basically, during this time, Shen Qiao's body was resetting. He was having a Windows update into his system, and he was rebooting, and that's why you couldn't do anything. And he's like, I just know a little. And I like that Shiwu was like, even though you have a sharp tongue, you're really nice. Shiwu is the most precious. He is a little angel baby. He is adorable. I love him to pieces. It makes me so sad that his master and his, like, sworn brother have died. He's like, I'm just going to try my best. And Shen Qiao's like, hey, this isn't your fault. He's like, I also have poison in my body, so this is kind of like, I was expecting this. I want to talk a little bit about that. So, my theory is with Shen Qiao that he was poisoned. We're going to put this up here. He was poisoned by a UI. Barely remember his name. He's been in this series it's been so long since we've seen him. He was poisoned by him. And then he was taken down by Kunye. And that's where Yan Wuxi found him. And so Yan Wuxi, who was kind of, like, titillated, if you will, and intrigued by Shen Qiao, decided to get Shen Qiao to absorb. We're just going to put absorb. That seems like the right word. 2 books of the celerity. 2 books of the celerity. He's absorbed 2 of the 5. So he's got 2/5 in his system right now. With the hopes that that would be enough to rid the poison. But we're going to talk about that later, that it was not enough to rid the poison, but some things happened that we're going to talk about here in a little bit that have cleansed his body and allowed the celerity to actually work. So yeah. And the doctor's like, I don't notice any poison when I felt your pulse. I don't find any signs of being poisoned. And that's when Shen Qiao, I love his face of, oh, I'm not poisoned anymore. So we might as well talk about it. It's going to be brought up again, but we might as well say it. So at some point, Yan Wuxi was like, okay, the celerity is being blocked. The celerity working is being blocked by the poison, by the reunion poison. It's strong enough that it's blocking the celerity from doing its job. So his solution to that is that I am going to, and I'm going to use the word inject because that's what the subtitles used. So he's going to inject his Yang Wuxi's like, I will inject my evil essence, take that as you will, his evil essence into Shen Qiao, which I talked about Heaven Official's blessing in the last episode. And I was like, okay, now that we're seeing the overall effect, I'm like, okay, this is connecting a little bit more like I'm used to Don Mai connecting, where something that seems like it's a problem actually becomes a solution. So he injected his evil essence into Shen Qiao, and we did talk last week about how the evil essence, quote unquote, rewrites the essence of a person. Basically, it is like when you press the power button down for 10 seconds and it forces the computer to shut off and then you can restart it. It rewrites the essence, which in turn eliminates the poison. It works for Shen Qiao because Shen Qiao is not used to that evil essence inside of him. So it's a foreign body. It comes in, forces his body to rewrite, and then we go from there. If Yang Wuxi is poisoned in the same way, which he has been, it's a little bit different. It's not the same factor. So can Shen Qiao take his essence of celerity and insert it into Yang Wuxi? Well, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Probably in the books. Probably not going to happen in this series, but probably in the books we'll see if that comes to pass. Now, do I think... We're going to wait and talk about the Phoenix Descending when we get to that. But Shen Qiao realizes, like, could it be that when I destroyed my fundamental energy, that my poison was gone too? Yes, it broke down your foundation. It rewrote the foundation. That's not essence. That's not the word I'm looking for. Foundation. It rewrote his foundation and took the poison out. So honestly, do I think Yang Wuxi knew he was helping Shen Qiao by doing this? Yes. But he's not going to tell Shen Qiao because that's just how Yang Wuxi is. He doesn't want Shen Qiao to know how much he's helping him. So they go back outside, and Shen Qiao's like in this basement. They're like, yeah, there's sunlight coming in. This is a covert place. So then he thinks back to what Yang Wuxi told him, saying, you better pray for yourself. Sir, you knew exactly what you were doing. So we go to this border. This is where Qingong came out at the border. We saw that, and there was a horse that rode through. Who was on top of the horse? I want to see this. Okay, that's Duan. Okay, that is Duan going across the border. Okay. So we're going to put that up here. That Yang Wuxi right now is following Duan. Yep. Now, if in the future episodes, Shen Qiao and Shiwu meets Qingong and Duan's with him, we're going to see, but that means that Yang Wuxi's nearby if that happens. So, and he's like, okay. And what does he do there? He turns and keeps going. And he's like, I'll see what tricks you're going to play. I miss seeing Yang Wuxi in this episode because I'm so used to him being near Shen Qiao, and I kind of wished he'd been at the outskirts of the little pavilion when Shen Qiao was doing his sword display for Shiwu. But at the same time, I feel like it was fine for Shen Qiao to have an episode by himself. So yeah, so as he's flowing through all this, that's when the celerity, the yin and yang, the red and the blue activate. Now, where it activates at, if you'll notice, is deep within, where, I don't know, it's not the groin region, but if a certain object that Yang Wuxi possesses and is large enough could reach that point. That'd be about right. That'd be about the spot. That'd be about the spot, y'all. So, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, yeah. So, anyways, like the celerity chi. And it basically, like, it radiates through him, causing him to, like, thrust up into the air. All minds are in the gutter at this point. But, yeah. And creating this, like, wave. It looks like a flower coming out of him. Also looks like little sperm ejaculates coming out of him. Mind is in the gutter at this point. But yeah, it also looks like it's flowing through like his vein system, like his nervous system, his veins, everything. If you've ever done anatomy and physiology as a class, then you've probably seen the display of your veins and like the blood vessels and stuff, and it's usually red and blue is how it's portrayed. That's basically what this looks like. But it resets everything. And then when he looks up, he can see. Our boy can see! Finally! Thank goodness! So, Shen Qiao can see everything, which I can't wait for him to see Yan Wuxi and be like, oh, you've been following me? This is what you look like? Oh! So he can see, and everything has been reset, and the celerity is helping his meridians get back up to speed. So, at the time when Yan Wuxi's like, none of this is helping, I feel like at the moment he put a pause on getting the celerity to Shen Qiao because none of it was working. He's like, well, what's the point of me getting the other 3 volumes if the first 2 aren't doing their job? And so that's when he probably like did the whole thing with the evil essence. So now, I love it. My meridians are connected again. He looks so good in this. Everything is recovering. I love his little face where he's just like, yeah, all right, well, thank goodness this is happening. Awesome. Glad to see it. The thing we don't know is, has Shen Qiao connected that Yan Wuxi doing this was also to benefit him? Because you cannot convince me that Yan Wuxi did not do this with the intention of it rewriting his meridians and it helping him. You cannot convince me. I also think that's one of the reasons why... Now, could we say that Yan Wuxi isn't around Shen Qiao at this point because he feels really guilty about what's happened? Well, sure, absolutely. But you can't convince me, even when Yan Wuxi has felt guilty before, he stayed close to Shen Qiao because he knew Shen Qiao needed his protection. If he knew what his evil essence injected into Shen Qiao and everything was going to do to him, then there's a good chance he left him at Bailong Temple to be like, I know your body's going to rewrite itself, and once it does, you're going to be right as rain, so I can go off and do this thing, and I know you're going to be safe. Because this is the first time that Yan Wuxi has not stuck around Shen Qiao. I honestly expected him at multiple times in this episode to be there to back him up, but Shen Qiao didn't need it this time around. So, to me, that tells me that Yan Wuxi knew that Shen Qiao was going to be okay after this. Now, do I think that Yan Wuxi's going to be all tsundere and ridiculous and being like, well, you don't want to be around me anyway, so I'll just go over here and do this. Boo, 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 boo. He might be that way, which would be dumb, but he's going to make Shen Qiao come running after him instead. He's like, I couldn't get this way until I destroyed my fundamental energy. And then he thinks back and remembers Yan Wuxi talking about how you keep fighting with others and it's only hurting your spirit till it was completely destroyed. And at the time, deities can't save you either. And then he says, if you give up on the Tao spirit and let me cultivate the evil spirit within you, he literally did cultivate the evil spirit within him to help him. The only thing is, he says that you have to accept, practice Phoenix Descending. Now, Shen Qiao is not practicing Phoenix Descending because we know about its fatal flaw. But I feel like that was all a front for Yan Wuxi to help cure him. And my hope is that he's like, then you could solve all your problems. I'm hoping that Shen Qiao can connect the dots. And I'm hoping he connect the dots and realize that Yan Wuxi has been trying to help him this whole time. And putting the evil essence in him was to reset the poison. I'm hoping that Shen Qiao can connect those dots. Because I think that's where those dots are connecting. But we'll see. And then he spits out the black blood. I do like how the black blood is portrayed in this Donghua, because a lot of times I've seen black blood in Modao Zushi, I've seen black blood, I think that it's in Scum Villain, but I've seen it in a couple others, and sometimes the black blood doesn't look like what you would think it would. This looks like it, right? And then he's like, okay, the real function of the celerity is to raise the dead to live and reset the fundamental energy. That's a crazy ability! Yeah, so basically the celerity can raise the dead, and reset them, and reset their foundation energy. Yeah, I could see why people would want it. That's a pretty important power. That's kind of crazy. And Is Yang Wuxi essentially trying to make his boo immortal? Possibly. We'll see. I just love how Shen Qiao looks in this episode. He looks so good. They did such a good job animating him. They didn't have to worry about Yang Wuxi getting out-diva'd because he's not really in this episode. So they're like, oh, wow, you can move. Everything's great. But then they sense something is wrong. And Zhao Se is with Chu Yi and the others. I do think that they did a really good job of animating this scene and showing when they show the shadows like they did for UI, it just makes them look so sinister. I was like, ugh. This whole episode, there was stakes. I felt really nervous watching parts of this because I didn't want Chu Yi and the old man to die the moment the old man used his power to stop. Even though Shen Qiao is getting his energy back, he can still be immobilized momentarily for an hour. But at the moment that happened, I'm like, that old man's gonna die. I know that they were censored and they couldn't show a lot, but they showed a lot of graphic cuts and stuff for what they couldn't normally show. It was pretty scary. So, buddy, you're going to have to put that up on the shelf. He's such a goose. But yeah, Zhao Se is such a cool looking antagonist, but with the fan blade and everything, but I'm like, he's got to go. Well, technically Yan Shou murdered a child, so he has to go, but you were an accomplice. You were helping in that and would have done it. So this, I'm not going to lie, this right here looked like the end of a barber's electronic razor. Like, I'm going to shave your head. If you don't tell me where Shen Qiao is. So I'm glad they didn't discover them. And he's like, they won't leave Chewie even if you go out. I like that the old man's like, look, they're going to kill that kid because that's how they do. And I'm going to go out there. You take care of Shiwu. That old man sacrificing himself. He knew what was going to go down. Yep. He's like, you stay here for the hour. And then he leaves him. He leaves him with this. What does he say there? He leaves him with this little like packet and says, I didn't use my strength. You'll be free to move in an hour. So he's like, if anything happens to me, please take care of Shiwu. And this is when he says that he mentions to everyone, take him to Bisha sect of Mount Tai. So the Bisha sect is with Mount Tai that we've talked about since the beginning. And then not Tai with an H. I'll correct that. He said, just say the unfilial disciple Zhu Lingquan. So I don't remember what unfilial means. We're going to look that up here in a hot second. The unfilial disciple Zhu Lingquan. What a badass. What an absolute badass. I want to look this up real quick because as an English teacher, I think it's important that we understand vocab. So unfilial. Unfilial means not showing the qualities associated with a son or daughter. A disobedient, rebellious, unruly, disrespectful, or uncaring. So he seems like he was like exiled, maybe. Potentially exiled. I don't know, buddy, where you've placed these things. But yeah, so he was basically a delinquent. The unfilial disciple Zhu Lingquan has accepted him as a disciple and sent him to meet his predecessors to put his name on the list. So basically he was saying that he had accepted Shiwu. And he's like, if anything happens to me, basically accept him into the clan, into the sect as a disciple. That's awesome. Oh, this old man, he had a sword for him and everything. Well, he ends up taking that sword with him. Yep. Oh, this was just so tense. I loved this scene so much. And this old man coming. Although Zhao Se does bring up a good point. He's like, why'd you show up with a sword if you were innocent? And it's like, yeah, that's a good point. And then we start this fight between them. The moment I saw the flower petals, I thought it was going to be Yan Wuxi. I really thought it was going to be Yan Wuxi, and I got my hopes up, but no, it was by wrong. She at least has to look like she's going along with it all, and she only cares about Shen Qiao, so I don't think she cared about the fates of anybody else. I think it was just Shen Qiao she was worried about. But yeah, she just looks like she's being forced to go along with all of this. She doesn't really have her heart set on being a part of it, but and the statues without the heads, and then his, Give us Shen Qiao. I love when he said, go to hell. This badass old man, I freaking loved him. He was amazing in this. Freaking loved him. I thought he was so badass. I absolutely adored it. But yeah, so then we have the fight scene. The fight scene the choreography was so good. And he said, the leader of Bishya sect is my peer. So even though he has kind of like exiled himself from the sect, the leader is Zhu Lang Quan's peer. So that's why he's going to accept Shiwu as his disciple, right? Shen Qiao is just having all of these effects on everybody. He gets Qin Gong a job. He's taking Shiwu to go get trained. You know, he's just, as much as I would like Shiwu to be Shen Qiao's adopted child, this is not the time nor place of that. He needs to come back later. If you have any connections, I can ask the leader. And they're like, we don't really care. They're like, why'd you conceal your name and live here? But whatever. I'm glad they didn't show us the death of Chuyi, but that sucks. I'm sure the novel's going to be brutal. I'm not ready for that. And then, I hated Xiao Sei just like slicing him up with the fan blade. That sucked so much. I hated it. I hated it so much. And he's like, tell us where he is. And he's like, even if I did know where he was, I'm not telling you. That was just, it was really sad. And I really like that shot where he kneels in front of him and pokes him with the blade. That's such a good shot. And he's like, you bastards. And Shen Qiao wants to do something so badly, but he can't. He's like, how can I tell you what's worthy? I don't know him, but if I did, he's like, I still wouldn't tell you. Yep, because you killed my disciple. He's like, you can kill me and you'll get your punishment. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. Kick an old man while he's down. Oh. And then when we saw Shen Qiao and Shiwu in the basement, just Shen Qiao's face in the darkness, you can even see through the darkness how horrified he is. That he had to sit there and watch this happen, and he wasn't able to do anything about it. And then Shen Qiao just crying. And he thinks back to what Yan Wuxi said, can you save anyone? None you can save. And he's like, well, no, I can save Shiwu. It's fine. He's like, I got this. I feel like there's a part of me that really wants in the novel for Shen Qiao to talk to Yan Wuxi and be like, you say I can't do all these things, but I actually can. There are things you can do even if things seem hopeless. Like, Shen Qiao's optimism is just, and even amidst all this like horrific stuff going on, he's still trying to think of the good thing to do. I love the animation in this scene. The way everyone is animated when Bairong comes in and sees them, it is so freaking good. Everyone looks amazing. And the door opens up and she steps in there. And then he stares at her. I love in this moment that shot in the light is perfect. It's so gorgeous. And him, like, they just made Shen Qiao look amazing in this episode. Look how gorgeous he looks. And he's like, who is it? Who's going to be there? And then the door opens. I like that when she walks in, she stares and he sees her. And they notice each other. I'm sure he could sense it was Bairong before because he knows it's Bairong because he sensed her energy before. So he knows that it's her, but he's like, oh, that's what you look like. Okay. And he kind of just goes, he's like, okay, did they notice us? And I love how he looks at her like, are you going to say anything? Are you going to make this difficult? And then she just turns around and leaves. Huh. Okay. And he's like, all right. And I like this Shen Qiao's like, okay, good. She let us go. Great. See, that's the thing. Bairong, she's not bad. She's drawn that way. She wants to help Shen Qiao and pay him back for trying to help her. But she's caught in this horrible situation. And I think Shen Qiao's going to try to save her. Much to Yan Wuxi's chagrin, right? And then they leave. Yep. This was so sad. Like, the two of them, like, all the head pats, all the hugs. This part here, like just seeing how sad Shen Qiao is as it's raining on their corpses, like just, he couldn't save him. I do think that this is a good moment, though, for Shen Qiao, because normally, Yan Wuxi would be like, you couldn't save anybody, what are you going to do? And here, as he looks up and he can see everything fully, and he has woe for all, whenever he doubts himself, he goes back to that sword and his master's teachings. I love that. I love that whenever he doubts himself and he starts to feel bad, he's just like, no, I'm doing this for a reason. There's a reason I'm doing this, to bring peace. And I just have to remember that. I like that they made both a grave. They made a grave for Chuyi and for him with like a little marker. Yeah. Okay. So then a few days later, they're getting ready to leave. And at the wharf of the river, I like that he just gives the head pats to Shiwu. Oh, Shen Qiao is so precious. I love him so much. And he's like, I'll teach you martial arts until we get to Bisha. I like that he's like, I'm not your master. He's like, you're a disciple of Master Zhu, but I'm going to teach you a few things. I like, because he's basically like, I can't take you with me along a way on all my journey, but I'm going to get you to Bisha, this one point, but I'll teach you a few things, and then you have to stay Master Zhu's disciple. That's the only thing that's best for him. And he's like, my master created the surging waves when he was beside the eastern sea, watching the sun and moon rising and setting and clouds roiling like waves. Today, we're along the river. We're along the river, and I'll perform it right now. We'll see what he saw. And he's like, try your best to understand it and watch. I'm like, he just did so many moves. I'm like, how is this kid supposed to watch all of them, sir? Love it. I love the song that we get. I wish Yan Wuxi had been watching this. I just love the idea of the sun and the moon. And this whole, this entire dance is him thinking about all of his struggles about UI, about all the suffering that he's had to witness, all the sorrow that he's had to see, and then lets it all go in this big wave. I love it. He doesn't really think of Yan Wuxi in that moment while performing because he's focusing all of his sorrow and sadness. And I think that's noteworthy that Yan Wuxi is not part of that sorrow and sadness. He doesn't view Yan Wuxi as a bad thing. He still doesn't view him as a bad thing. I think that's important to note. And he's like, well, Mr. Shen, I think that you're... I like that Shiwu says that his master told him about people that could be like a master for all and bring peace to the world, and he thinks that Shen Qiao is somebody that could do that. And I like what woe for all represents, because you would think that woe for all means you think it'd be like a sword a villain would have, which Yan Wuxi's like, come on, you got woe for all, that's such a villain sword. But it's really not. It represents, he's like, it's to remind you that kingdoms in war mean a woe for all. So try your best to help people in these harsh economic times. Protect your Taoist spirit. Which, here's the other thing too. Yan Wuxi really liked Qi Fengge, his master. So I think that Yan Wuxi would not want to defile anything that the man he admired was cultivating, which is Shen Qiao as a disciple. So, I can't wait to read the novel. It's going to be so much fun. He's like, my job is to protect commoners and change the world. I felt like this entire moment was, he says, your sword follows your heart and your heart follows your mind. And I'll wake it all with my sword. A sword should be the most affectionate. Well, I'm glad we're getting some loving with swords in this. This is feeling very Modao Zushi. When the most affectionate encounters the emotionless, it will make it through anyway. I feel like that's going to transmit to Yan Wuxi, perhaps. We'll see. But yeah, the yin and the yang. Hey, blue and red come together to make purple, and that's Yan Wuxi's colors. So the real martial master can affect everything surrounding him with his inner energy. I think Mr. Shen should be such a master. Well, yes, that's what Yan Wuxi wants to see. Yan Wuxi wants somebody to change his mind, to shape his perspective, to blow his mind. And I think Shen Qiao is the person to do that. And this episode has opened the doors for Shen Qiao to start being himself again. He's not held back or with a hindrance anymore with the poison. It's all bringing up daisies. He's like, I didn't expect the celerity to have such an amazing effect on me. Well, yes. Yep. It drives the illusory sword. so the sword can integrate with everything. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this goes. He's like, can I be like you? And he's like, well, yes. And I like the fact that he tells Shu, he's like, well, you can be like me, but every Taoist has their own path. There's 1,000 different ways you can be like me. You don't have to exactly mimic everything I do. I love it. He's like, don't forget the death of your master in Chu Yi. He's like, and then he says that they can see you from heaven, and I'm sure that they are going to want you to be happy. And then Shiyu says, he's like, you're a good kid. And he says, I know. He's like, I'll live and practice martial arts, and I'll be a good man, and I won't fail my master. And he says, and you? He asks him here. Oh, well, before he asks him, they have this little moment where they hug. It's so sweet. I'm like, give the damn guy a hug. It's so sweet. I love it. Aw. Also, I'm just realizing that on his sleeves, Shen Qiao has little yin and yangs on his sleeves. Shut up. Shut up, thematic wardrobe. Shut your face. It's so cute. I love that. Aww. And so as he looks out amidst the sunset, he says, will you forget those who have hurt you? And who does Shen Qiao think of in that moment? He thinks of Yan Wuxi. How can you trust people so easily? And Shen Qiao doesn't exactly have an answer. He's like, let's go. We're not going to answer that question yet. I think that Shen Qiao views Yan Wuxi and Song Zhijing in two different spheres or realms. You have San Zhijing, who's literally tried to hurt him, and then you've had Yan Wuxi, who has hurt him emotionally a little bit, but come on. I want them to end up together so badly. The yearning, y'all. The yearning. And then there's our episode. This was so good. I freaking loved it. I am so excited for next week. Y'all have no idea, but I'm even more excited for the novel. I really am getting excited for the novel. I truly am. So anyway, I am also excited to hear your thoughts down below. I will probably be putting out a poll on Patreon. So if you're on Patreon, be on the lookout for that poll. It's going to be about Thousand Autumns. It's going to be about the novel versus the audio drama and which I look at first. So I'm going to be doing a poll on there. So keep your eyes out for that. That's going to be coming up here shortly, but it'll probably be out in the next day or so. And then otherwise, I'm really excited to see what we get, y'all. Anyway, I'm excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, the heartache of this episode, but I'm excited for next week, and I'll see you all real soon with episode 14 of Thousand Autumns, and I'll see you then. Bye.